Hey everyone, welcome to George's Library. My name is George and today I want to talk about Children of Dune by Frank Herbert. Children of Dune feels like the moment when Frank Herbert stops asking what happens when a hero gains power. Coming into this book, especially after Dune Messiah, I wasn't really expecting warmth, and Herbert doesn't offer any of it. But I was surprised of how intellectual this book is. It's less emotionally devastating than Messiah, but in some ways it's even more disturbing and weirder. Because now the tragedy isn't just Paul, it's structural. Paul is gone, but his shadow is everywhere. His legacy has hardened into religion, bureaucracy, and Children of Dune is really about what it feels like to grow up inside someone else's myth, especially when that myth has already reshaped the universe. Leto II and Ganima are fascinating characters, not because they feel particularly human, but because they're struggling with the impossibility of being human at all. Herbert leans fully into this idea that knowledge, too much knowledge, can be a kind of prison. The twins aren't innocent, and they're not exactly corrupted either. They're aware in a way a child should never be. And what struck me most is how calm the book is about all of this. There's no attempt to soften what's happening. Herbert presents these children as strategic, cautious, already shaped by history before they had a chance to live. And yeah, that kind of feels like the next logical step in the Dune project. If Messiah dismantles the heroic myth, Children of Dune shows you what grows in the ruins. The political landscape here is dense, sometimes overwhelming, but also very intentional. Everyone is reacting, no one is really in control, even the people who think they are. That history is now self-perpetuating is where the book feels most aligned with Herbert's concern. This is also where Herbert becomes very explicit about his distrust of charismatic leaders. Not just the leader themselves, but the systems that preserve their image long after they're gone. Paul didn't want this future, but intention no longer matters. The machine is running on its own. Emotionally, this book is colder than Messiah, but that coldness feels purposeful. It creates distance. You're not meant to attach easily. You're meant to observe, feel uneasy, to notice how often compassion is sidelined in favor of survival and long-term planning. And then there's Leto II. Without getting into spoilers, his arc feels like the most chilling extension of Herbert's ideas so far. Not because it's shocking, but because it's presented as reasonable, necessary even. And that's where Children of Dune unsettled me. How calmly it invites you to consider moral sacrifice on a scale so large it stops feeling moral at all. If Dune Messiah is the most depressing book in the series, Children of Dune might be the most sobering. It doesn't ask you to mourn anymore. It asks you to accept. That said, this won't be a book for everyone. It's heavy on ideas, light on emotional immediacy, and deeply committed to conversations rather than action. But if you've made it this far into the series, I think it rewards patience in a different way. Not by offering catharsis, but by showing the long-term cost of choices already made. By the end, I didn't feel devastated the way I felt with Messiah. I felt resigned. And I don't think that's a failure. I think that's exactly what Herbert wanted. Children of Dune feels like a bridge. Less iconic than the first book, less emotionally brutal than the second, but absolutely essential if you're interested in where Herbert is taking his ideas next. Ideas about power, legacy, and the danger of believing too deeply in any one vision of the future. And honestly, it made me realize that Dune was never really about Paul at all. Let me know what you think in the comments. Meanwhile, stay safe, be kind, and keep on reading. I'll see you next.